Big Al's Rant with Cayden McFarland, powered by Jack Cassee Ford.
What in the world has happened to this beautiful game we call football? What has happened?
Oh, we should play taps for it.
Zach is here for your responses.
Yikes.
Now listen, before anybody starts hollering, you're not an OU fan or whatever, or any win's a good
You're an
win.
old fuddy-duddy.
Give me a break.
You're the get off my lawn guy.
The game last night. No, I'm not. I don't care if kids.
No, I'm saying that's what they may say.
Watching last night's game was the most disgusting display of football I have ever seen. I don't know what I was watching last night. OU scored on every single possession. Texas Tech couldn't stop St. Mary's of the Blind.
That's right.
I'm
just letting you go because I'm using this later tonight at 10.
Every record set last night should have an asterisk because it was played against air.
It should. I hadn't thought of that, but you're right. Records are dropping, and for no good reason at all. Because doing it against Texas Tech,
holes.
It was embarrassing. Al, I mean, he had a long one called back that was probably, and I put it in this highlight package, probably the most egregious. And I mean, that's saying something from the Texas Tech defense. I mean, just getting manhandled.
If I'm
all
Texas
night long.
Tech, if I'm Kingsbury, I'm embarrassed to face the press.
Well, I watched his 6 or 7 minute presser, and he basically is embarrassed to face the press. He doesn't look anybody in the eye. He looks straight up at the ceiling the entire time. It's monotone, and he is not in a good mood. Now, let me quickly go through some of the facts. There was the one defensive highlight of the entire night, Stephen Parker. And somehow Mike Stoops is still angry. They intercept a pass. It's their only good play all night.
I was wondering why he went out of bounds.
Why did he
go out of bounds?
All right, so 66-59 the final. 1,708 total yards of offense. That's an NCAA record. 854 yards apiece. I mean, that's remarkable in and of itself. Joe Mixon had 377 total yards, 5 touchdowns. Baker Mayfield, 545, threw for 7. That's an OU record. Pat Mahomes threw the ball 88 times.
He had 45 passes at the first
734
half.
yards. 734 yards in one ball game. It was embarrassing. Hey, here's the play that was called back, and Texas Tech had about 9 guys with the I mean, okay, what does Texas Tech do defensively? They can't tackle. They can't get off blocks. They can't cover in the flat. And somehow they play zone and they let you throw the ball in front of them. And somehow they still get run by anytime you want to throw deep. They don't do anything. And OU was right there with them just as bad.
OU gave up 59 points.
Oh, my gosh.
And the only time that OU didn't score is when they went to a knee in victory formation.
In the second half, that's right.
Now, my question to you,
Fans
out there,
you enjoy it?
do you enjoy this kind of football? Now, we're watching on the other side of things, we're watching a 3-0 NFL game. So where's the happy medium with all this? I'd rather see none of it, to be honest with you. It's embarrassing, and there's no end in sight.
Right. I thought that eventually, I tend to think that in college football things are cyclical, and I thought it was going to cycle back. And, Al, you're right. It's accelerating in this conference. And frankly, in the SEC, they're starting to look a lot more like the Big 12 did just a few years ago. I don't like what I'm seeing nationwide.
My nephew texted me last night, and the question was, can OU stop anybody? I said, well, it's going to take 60 to win this game. I was pretty darn close.
Really? It took exactly 60 to win that ball game.
I've never seen anything. This is, again,
there's nobody in the screen. There's not
air.
A defender in the screen.
That was the only thing that was going to stop Joe Mixon was a gust of wind across the Lubbock Plain.
You're right. That's a good line. Look at Lincoln Riley. He was all fired up. We saw Mike Stoops angry after interceptions, and there's Lincoln Riley. Look, and that's the thing, right? The OU offense, even though it was against that Texas Tech defense, the OU offense was great, and here's where I give them the most credit. Hold on just a second. It's easy in these situations when you get in a shootout and you're a team like OU that's not used to being in that situation. OSU's been winning shootouts for a long time. The OU defense does not expect to put fourth of performance, anything like that. And so I give the OU offense, which doesn't go into a game thinking it needs to win 60 traditionally. I'm not talking about this year, but traditionally. Well, they knew they had to score every single time, and they kept doing it. I know Tech's defense is that bad, but I do give OU credit for that because there's a ton of pressure on you in that situation when you're the favorite and you got Big 12 title aspirations and you have to score on every single possession. A lot of pressure. And Baker Mayfield, Joe Mixon, D.D. Westbrook delivered.
I was going to suggest that the Texas Tech defensive coordinator wear a mask, a clown mask, but you can't do that now because that'll get you in further trouble.
That will get you in big trouble.
Maybe they play some defense. But what do we got?
What are they saying on the Facebook?
A lot of people are pretty angry about OU's defense. Bradford says, I just wish the Sooners' defense woulda, coulda stopped them a few more times.
Woulda, coulda. That's a good way to put it.
But I like a lot of the offense, too. A great offense kind of makes up for the mediocre defense. What do you guys think about that comment?
I just can't stand to watch this kind of football. Yeah. I really can't. I just, it's just not fun for me to watch.
Not
plays made so easily.
Not to mention the fact it takes 5 hours to watch it.
Well, that too. It got over at 11:40 last night. Started at 7. I just, I'm sorry, and excuse me for being a traditionalist or an old fogey or whatever the case may be. 66-59 is just stupid. It's not football.
I don't even think that's being an old fogey. When defense is played this poorly, football's not the same. Football's not as fun. I love to see throwing the ball around and offenses that are great, but what makes it fun is a defense that can actually step up and stop it. And look, maybe there's only one in the entire country that's capable. Alabama.
This is what is incredible to me. Nothing was exotic. The guys just ran regular pass patterns. Texas Tech receivers ran by Thomas like he was standing still as if he were in quicksand.
No.
I've never seen anything so porous in my life. Tech, 9 games into the season, this is a defensive back. And the guy goes this way. It's nuts. It's inexcusable.
It is. It's as bad as it gets, and you know who you sound like. You sound a little like Mike Stoops.
Well,
You want to take a listen to what Mike had to say last night?
I heard it, but it's worth hearing again. It's just, it's pathetic.
It was pathetic. It was. Here's Bob, Mike Stoops, and we'll talk about some of the great offense as well.
And again, just well played, hard fought game. Just overall. I say well played by the offenses, not so much by the defenses, but we did what we needed to do to win.
We knew that they had a high-powered offense, and I told some of the guys at halftime, if you're scared and you don't want to score every drive, stay in here. And so we did just that. We came out on fire, and we knew that we had to score a lot of points, and we did a good job of executing.
I've never seen that, like my whole life. Never seen that many guys open in one game. There was nothing good. We won. Our offense did an incredible job. To help us, but it hurts when you don't hold up your end of the deal. It's like I said, it's unacceptable on so many levels. I can't even begin to try to define it.
Eyes downfield.
Yikes.
The only way I have to define it is ugly.
Yep.
The only way I have to define it is inexcusable.
And David agrees with you. He says it's flag football at best.
No, at best.
It's not. Right. It's not fun.
No. And
football's a hitting game.
It is.
Is it not?
That's right. No, you're absolutely right.
Now, okay.
Your radio partner Pat Jones loves to say that, and he's right. This is a physical game.
If you don't want to play the game, don't put on a uniform. If you don't want to hit, don't play the game. Period.
This is the school that produced the Selman brothers, especially Leroy, Tony Casillas, Brian Bosworth. I mean, they played great defense and then the Stoops era.
I keep bringing this up, but guys like Jimbo Elrod have just got to say, what in the world's going on here?
Track him down this week, see what he has to say after.
Well,
that's a good idea now that you bring it up.
You come up with the excuses. Well, the offenses, the recruiting. You're not allowed to tackle anybody anymore because you're afraid you get the yellow flag. Please, give me a break. I'm tired of the excuses. I'm tired of the reasons. I'm tired of the 7-on-7 in Texas. I'm sorry. At least put a hand on somebody. At least wrap somebody up. At least cover somebody.
I think and Mike Stoops talked about it. They tried zone, they tried man, none of it worked.
Did you see there was one defensive formation where they had 6 defensive backs lined straight across 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage, as if there was a wall of demarcation or something.
Right.
And, of course, that didn't work.
To me, they got to be more physical. Across the board defensively, but the defensive backs have to be more physical.
But they're not that kind of player. They can't be physical, or the 1 second they make a tackle, they're out with a bad shoulder. Yeah. They can't tackle.
And I guess I'm talking about long-range fix. I'm not talking about like this year's group needs to do this, because I don't think there are any answers there.
After the Clemson game of the Orange Bowl, they told us they were going to get more physical. Well, to me, they've gotten just the opposite.
Some of that you got to recruit. Hopefully they are. I mean, they got the #1 class in the country, I guess, at the moment. Hopefully those are physical guys and not just more of the same.
I think kids today, they're on their cell phones too much, is what I think.
Hey, speaking of that. OSU defeated Kansas 44-20. I guess we'll pop up the highlights for about 10 seconds. This game's really not worth talking about. There were 3 takeaways in the third quarter. That put it away. Mason Rudolph waving on the camera there. Look, Mason Rudolph is less interested in games against opponents like this than he is big games. I fully expect him to be ready to go next week against number 10 West Virginia. Undefeated team coming to Stillwater on homecoming. That's going to be a big old ball game. But what we were talking about this week with regard to this OSU football program, these comments from Mike Gundy, which kind of came out of the blue, talking about college football parity and kids on their cell phones. If you can make sense of it, let me know.
And the players that we coach come in, and they're not like guys that we coached 10 years ago and 15 years ago and 20 years ago, because your generation spends all their time looking at their phones. My generation spent all our time in the front yard playing games. And so they were more ready to go into college athletics. They understood all the dynamics of it compared to young people nowadays. They don't spend as much time around football. They spend more time playing some game on a phone. And because of all that and the training that takes place, there's more parity in college football.
Here's what I think he means.
Yep.
I think, one, that we live in a nation of wussies.
I was going to say, I got my phone right here.
It is the wussification of America.
Yeah, you've been saying that for years.
But 2, I think he's looking for gym rats. You know, like we talk about basketball players in the gym 24/7. I don't think we have gym rats in football anymore. To play the game, you've got to have a uniform. You got to get a trophy after every game. If you don't win a game, you still get a trophy. That kind of thing. And I don't think that kids are come prepared for the idiosyncrasies that go with the game. Yeah. Like if you're playing pickup football, for example, and you throw a pass and there's a fumble, you automatically get it. You automatically kind of react to what's been going on. Here, you almost have to be taught to do these things, and everything is so analytical now that you don't get that sandlot brain, for lack of a better way to put it.
Yeah. Having been around very few kids playing youth football or high school football, I'm talking about on the field, like coaching them like a coach does. I just defer to him here. I assume he knows more than I would. I don't really understand the connection with parity in college football. I can see how what he's saying is it's harder to coach these kids, or these kids aren't gamers in the same way. I get that. I don't know how it translates to parity exactly.
Maybe he's talking about you don't really know what kids to recruit. And you know, a lot of schools are going to get the same kind of players that don't know it yet.
Athletes
don't get into it. Like, I mean, I don't want to say, things were different back when I was growing up. After school, 6 of us got together, depended on the season, played sandlot baseball, sandlot football. We even played tackle without equipment.
Sure.
Well, now, mothers would never allow that to happen, right?
I think that there's an athletic IQ that comes from figuring it out yourself and going out in the yard like they used to. And now it seems like everything is so organized, and you're running plays that are designed, by it's very organized football as opposed to the sandlot thing where kids kind of figured it out on their own.
Right.
I'm sure a lot of that's true. This struck a nerve. Yeah, I think we had more than 600,000 views on Facebook with this video, with this 1 minute from Mike Gundy. So pretty interesting stuff. He's got a big old ball game this week. So.
Well, I could attest to because I've been to Gundy's household when he was playing in college.
Yeah.
And his brother Cale, and they were still living at home. And their dad had a batting cage in the backyard, a makeshift batting cage. He had a basketball court. So
That's awesome.
football wasn't the only thing that these guys did. And he's right. They played games. When they were out of school and they got their homework done, so, assuming they did their homework, they went out and activities and played against each other,
in different
one-on-one
sports.
or there's always some kind of activity going on. And like you said, it's a sandlot IQ that I think is missing in today's athlete. I'm not saying they're not bigger, they're not stronger, but I don't think they're acclimated as well to the nuances of the game.
The two defenses we saw last night in Lubbock certainly fit that description.
All right, Zach?
A lot of commenters agree with you both. Brian says, kids and grown-ups alike need to get off their phones and spend time with each other. Facebook and social media is killing our values and our defense.
As we read from people who are on the internet or
on the internet right now, on your phones right now.
And I'm on my phone right now. Yeah.
Well,
yes. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you need your phone to communicate. That's the way we do it now.
Yes.
But you can overdo it too.
Yep.
And don't text and drive.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. That's not even. But yeah, it kind of a fun discussion for our time, certainly timely. Quickly with TU, you were there yesterday on homecoming, honoring Dennis Byrd. Looked like they did this thing right, Al.
They really did. I was impressed, and I tried to talk Don Tomkowski into making that 49-yard touchdown pass.
A 48?
A 48-yard touchdown pass.
I thought the same thing when I was.
But he wouldn't do it because he's too,
It's
official.
Too much of a professional? Yeah, absolutely. How about that catch by Keevan Lucas? That made SportsCenter's top 10 this morning
it did?
as I was watching. It kind of grabs it really with one hand, ends up getting the other one on it too. But yeah, big time play there.
But I asked all the folks that were in the room. See, that was 48 yards, wasn't it?
It was awfully close. One away, I think.
How good is this football team right now?
Right.
And I think they're pretty good. I'm willing to say that this is a really good football team.
So, they control their conference championship destiny. If they win out, and that would include a win over Navy, they are your AAC West Division champs. You think they're capable of something like that?
I think they're capable. In fact, I think they beat Memphis at Memphis. I watched Memphis play Temple. I guess it was 2 weeks ago, maybe.
Temple's pretty good. They just beat South Florida.
What my point is, I think Tulsa is as good or better than those guys.
What do you like the most about this team? The defense is much improved. The offense continues to put up big numbers.
They gave up some big runs yesterday, but it was late. After 2.5 quarters, they had only given up 200 yards total to Tulane. Those two big runs that were late. The game was already in hand.
Yeah.
I sort of discount that because they were, I just didn't put that into the equation when I thought they played good defense. But what impressed me the most is that they got out to a fast start, which they hardly ever do, and this was after the most disappointing loss in years.
Right.
So that's what impressed me.
Here's what I like. Let me know if you see the same thing. To me, it looks like a team that's just all on the same page. I'm a huge fan of Notre Dame, and they're a talented team that's 2-5 because they're not on the same page. I think, look at Rowdy Simon on Bayan. Rowdy Simon. I see a team that's all on the same page, and they're playing complementary football where when the offense doesn't have it yet, the defense picks it up some and vice versa. And they just seem to have, obviously they can come back, and so they have belief in themselves when they get down. But there also just seems to be this belief that they're capable of things that are greater than what the outside world thought at the beginning of the year, and hey, we're going to get there. I can't be more impressed with Philip Montgomery as the head coach. I mean, when he was a play caller for Baylor, we knew the guy could draw up some plays. But to me, the staff he put together and the way they've coached these kids in short order, they've become a really formidable group.
The fact that they ran the ball really well against a team that was in the top 10
Yeah, they can run
defense,
on just about everybody in that league, without a doubt.
Just so you know, you have not missed a thing. It's still
still 3-0.
And they're still playing between the 20s.
Who are you rooting for in the World Series? Got the two longest championship droughts in baseball.
You want my reasoning?
I do.
Okay. I'm rooting for Cleveland.
Okay.
Here's why. Not that I don't know. I just think the Cleveland. I think Terry Francona is the most underrated manager in baseball.
That's great, no doubt.
And I think that because of what John Lester and Beckett did to him at Boston with the fried chicken and beer incident in the locker room that got Francona fired at Boston. I hold that against Lester, who pitches for the Cubs, so I'm rooting for Cleveland. And you know, it doesn't hurt that I'm an American League guy.
Yes, I respect that because I'm right with you on Francona and can't believe the job he's done in Cleveland. But
you would have thought they already won the World Series in Chicago already.
Right. No, I know, and I don't think they should be partying like that. It worries me. This is
nuts.
This is not good,
you
Chicago.
Don't do this yet.
Don't do this yet. Here's the other thing. I've had this now, and everybody on earth has had this for their entire life, that the Cubs are lovable losers and not champions. I want to keep it that way. It's something that connects me to my childhood. I want my kid to experience the Cubs as lovable losers.
It relates to everybody's childhood that's ever lived in this country.
Everyone on planet Earth. My grama is 99 years old now. I mean, she wasn't around the last time the Cubs were World Series champions.
1908.
99.
1908.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
That is 108 years ago.
You believe that? How is that possible? You can't do that if you try.
Well, they tried.
108 years?
They tried to lose.
Oh, they've tried.
They've tried to lose. And they're jinxing themselves right there.
I can't tell you how many people I knew, I knew there were a lot of Cubs fans out there because they're on WGN. People grew up watching them. They're one of those national teams. I can't believe how many people I knew are now suddenly on this bandwagon like they've been the biggest Cubs fans in the world forever, and I had no clue they were Cubs fans.
Stop it. It's no. I really dislike that kind of fandom. Don't you?
Yeah, you do. Probably not as much as you, but I do, yes.
Now, what are they going to, in Cleveland, the Cavaliers open up the exact same time as the first game of the World Series. So
the world saw this coming.
How does that even make sense?
Oh, you watch the World Series. Who cares about the Cavs? Right?
Exactly.
Are they getting the rings, though, that night?
They are
oh,
getting
my
the
gosh,
rings.
That's amazing. LeBron changed everything.
He did.
He's the best, man.
He's the king of Cleveland.
Our old buddy Max Resnick.
Cleveland.
How happy must he be?
Titletown, USA.
And the Browns are 0-7. And, you know,
well,
that's the price you pay.
That
it's worth it. Totally worth it. Sacrificial lamb.
They lose their fifth quarterback today?
Is that right?
Concussion.
I don't know.
Gone. See you.
Oh, my goodness.
All
It's
right.
still 3-0.
It is still 3-0. But it's worth getting back to Michelle.
Sure.
All right.
It's for you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks,
See you next
everybody.
time, everybody.
Big Al's Rant with Cayden McFarland, powered by Jack Cassee Ford.